Say a word to the camera.
A word. A word.
A word.
Hello.
Hello.
Brucey here with my missus. She's got a great house.
Stop it.
We used to spend fortunes on girls getting their hair done. We used this special stone, and all the hair went like that, you know, it's hilarious. Now, I think the best thing is just ask me some questions and I'll go into some stories and whatever. You know, I can tell you a few things, what it was like. So, far away, anybody.
How did you get the Jimi Hendrix album cover shoot?
1966, I was the first guy to photograph the Animals when they came down from Newcastle. And Chaz Chandler was the bass player. And he was in New York, and somebody said, you've got to come and see this black guy, he's amazing. So he went to a club and saw Jimmy and realised he had something else. He was something else. And Jimmy was doing a thing called the Chittenden circuit, which was kind of a black circuit. He played with a lot of the bands, Little Richard. Little Richard got fed up with him because he kept going off and overshadowing Little Richard, who was doing all the honky-tonk stuff. So Chaz realised that he had a lot of talent and was quite a different guitar player. So he brought him over to England at his own expense, and he stayed in Chaz's flat. And they took off from there, and he managed him. And he rang me up one day in about September '66, and he had an office in Soho, and said, come and see me, I've got this fantastic guy here, you've got me. I can't do a Geordie accent. So went round, and there was Jimmy. And we just got along famously, had a lot to talk about. We found we were both into space and UFOs. I was reading Asimov, he was reading Asimov, I was reading Lawrence and Daniken and We Are Not Alone. And with the stuff we were smoking, we really weren't alone. There were a lot of beings out there. You know? And that's how I got the job. So April came, and Track Records was run by Chris Stamp and I can't remember the second guy. They got a piece of Jimmy, and they were going to do a record called Are You Experienced? And they sent him round to the studio, and he walked in wearing a cloak. And I was sort of Dracula about it, so I thought it would be great if he held the cloak up and the boys were coming out underneath. A bit corny in a way, but the shot I shot from the floor, and it was quite dramatic. And the buggers went and shot one, I shot right in the middle of the chest, so it was really rather boring, you know, but the one from the floor, I begged them to use it, and they didn't. So, that's that. That's how I got the shot.
Oh, that's great, yeah. My favourite LP, that.
Do you still have the outtakes from that shoot?
They disappeared. A lot of my work has vanished. A lot of stuff was borrowed and never returned. Or I forgot to get it back because I was pissed and chasing girls. Sorry to say. So
Bruce, but inevitably the next went to the supplier.
Being Bruce's agent, I personally have never really heard the wonderful story about how Bruce and his family, including Kim, had Jimi Hendrix first Christmas. Yeah, that is the most beautiful story.
End of '67, I was photographing it. In fact, I was doing the shots of the hairdressing shots. I said, what are you doing for Christmas? It was November. And he said, nothing. He said, I got too many dates to go home. He lived in Seattle, a long way away, other side of America. So he said, I'll just get a hotel. I said, no, you bloody well won't. You come and stay with us and have dinner, Christmas dinner. He said, great. So he showed up, and I had Mike Smith from the Day Clark Five and other musicians and all kinds of people there, about 15 or 20 of us. And we got a huge turkey, we could hardly get it in the oven. And we sort of got around to eating it eventually, you know, after passing it around a bit. And, you know, wasn't there a turkey? I think there was somewhere. And the oven? I think it's in the oven. Let me have a look. So that was it. So he spent the afternoon, then the night, and then the whole night. And we left Boxing Day. And it was a great night. It was terrific. Terrific night.
Happy days.
Did you ever shoot behind the scenes shots
shots. So like, you know, you were there to do what you were there to. You were booked for what you were booked to do. Did you ever like take extra stuff?
Yeah, I did, but I've lost them. I've lost a lot of them. I used to shoot jobs, and there was a big cardboard box in the bottom of the dark, and I'd throw everything in there. And sometimes I'd sort through it, and what you've seen there is a tiny fraction of my work. It's tiny. I tried to show you because I'm a specialist in black and white, and I wanted to show you the progression from being a starting off as a smudger. I mean, I did beach photography in Jersey. I went to Jersey when I got out of the Air Force. I didn't know what to do, so I went to Jersey with a few friends, and we had a tea-chest band, and you know, we ran out of money, and I met this photographer, and I worked for him on the beach, and then we'd process film at night. And I kept my hand in a way, in a funny sort of way. But no, I did a lot of stuff, but I don't know where it is, you know, or it's not shown here, you know. If I showed you all my work, it would take you about 2 weeks to look through it, because it's just huge. And that's only probably what I printed for my archive, which is being sold, is about 1/3 of my output. It's huge. I mean, 60 years of work and working all the time. And when I worked for John, he kept me working all the time, you know. Through the 80s, advertising. We did great. He was a great agent, and we made lots of money and had a tremendous time, you know.
But you did do backstage at Monterey.
Yeah, I went backstage at Monterey. I got some pictures of Brian Jones. I think.
Well, Janis, you.
Yeah, Janis Joplin I met. But again, we were all puffing away, and she said, "Give me a cigarette, honey," and I had a swig out of a whiskey bottle, and I moved around, and then I saw Jimmy, because I'd gone over to see him, and he was kneeling on the floor, and he had a big white guitar, and he was painting swirly black lines on it, and we didn't know what he was going to do. Nobody knew that he had lighter fuel. There was in the old days you could have a plastic one, you could squeeze it out. And he had one in his pocket, and he knew that the Who were going to be outrageous, so he had to be outrageous as well. So I think he followed the Who, and he was the last act that night, and boy, what an act. And the Who went bananas, of course, smashed the guitars up. Keith Moon kicked his guitar and his drums around, and you know, all that sort of thing. I got all those pictures, you know, but again, I can't show them all, so I had to show you just a small fraction of what I did, and I tried to show you tonight kind of how one thing led to another. It was almost like just following my nose, really, you know. And I was never a great technician, so I couldn't boast about that. But I'd get myself in places. You've got to have a chutzpah, Jewish word for balls. You know, you've got to get in there. Yeah, and you mustn't take no for an answer. Say no, it's okay, no, and then you go around the back. You know?
But a lot of your pictures are technically sophisticated. You must have had a nose for technical assistance.
No, I had terrific assistants.
But picking terrific assistants is an instinct in itself, isn't it?
Well, yeah, because they were great technicians. The last one I had, James, who put my archive together, was the best I ever had. Very quiet, very studious, would kill himself if you made a mistake, you know. He was a tremendous assistant, and he was a great technician. I'm kind of like Star Wars, may the force be with you, you know. I never prepared for anything, and sometimes that cost me blood, but I never prepared because I wanted it to be spontaneous. I wanted to get the feeling of spontaneity, and I found that if I prepared too much, I was stuck in that direction. Those were the parameters. And very often I was given the parameters, and they were very strict, but they were hugely expensive. You know, did British American Tobacco in Cuba, went over there for 10 days to find the models and the locations, came back, paid a fortune. Then I went out for 2 weeks, and but all the pictures had been okayed by British American Tobacco. All the drawings had been done, so I just had to follow the drawings. It's weird. So I tried to inject something in there, you know, but I had to be careful because if I exceeded the parameters, they'd reject them. So that's advertising. And yet I was paid a fortune. It's stupid, you know. It's rather like a famous actor who never got an Oscar, but he got an Oscar for playing a deaf mute.
John Mills.
Yeah, John Mills. It's crazy. I loved it when they'd say, "We like your style. This is sort of what we want. What can you do?" Aha! Then you've got fun, and then you need money as well. And then you can do great things. There's no limit.
Did you carry on with music once advertising started to take up your time?
Well, the music changed.
Yeah.
The great jazz musicians, Zoot Sims, Stan Getz, Dexter Gordon, these amazing people to know. And I'd shoot them at Ronnie's, and then after hours, they'd close the place and the musicians would all sit around, smoke and drink, and I'd sit and talk to them. And they're artists, they're great artists. And it's just so lovely to be with another artist. I don't care what it is, writer, photographer, it doesn't matter if they're artists. It's a wonderful thing to be with them. Because I don't know, there's I think we're all people that never grew up. I don't think you mustn't grow up too much, otherwise you can't create anything. It's a bit weird like that, and you've got to keep that slightly potty, youthful thing. Otherwise, if you get too cynical or whatever, then you lose everything. It just vanishes.
So what you've described is a sort of childlike enthusiasm, but also bloody-mindedness of the highest degree, and those two things, the friction between those things, creating good luck, like with Eartha Kitt.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
It's a good start. Yeah, it was the first time I'd ever. Well, I mean, she was very nice. I mean, she stepped forward and said, "What's the matter, honey?"
Yeah, but you created. You were lucky because you got to that point in order to be lucky.
I was lucky how nice she was as well. That was a great thing.
But do you think luck has been a theme through your career?
Yeah. But you kind of make your own luck. You've got to aim yourself somewhere, and don't take no for an answer. And you've got to you just got to do what you feel is right. And there's another thing. Any photographers here, I'm sure you know this. 99% is shit. It's got to be something you love and you know. Don't lie to yourself. If it's not right, if it's not a good photograph, it isn't. If it's a great photograph and your hair stands on end, even if other people don't like it, you've got it. The composition's right, the drama's right, the power is right. What you were trying to say about that person or that situation, you got it. That's the wonderful thing. That is. I saw Lewis Hamilton do the greatest lap ever, and I could see him sitting in the car like that because he realised what he'd done, the fastest ever, and I knew how he felt because I felt that when I've seen stuff come up in the developer, and I've worked hard to get this picture, and it wasn't the picture I expected. It was another one further along the roll or something, but there it is. You've got it. It's not what you thought it would be. You have an idea what you want, and that's where it becomes magic. And it's kind of a divine accident. And then you work away in what you think you're doing, and something else takes over. And then this shot arrives. But you don't know till you get them in the developer, and then you watch. You know you're on the right way. You can feel it. But you're not sure that it's going to be a great one. But you aim at a great one, always. There you go. Anybody else got any questions?
Can I ask about a technical question about your prints? Were they digitally printed, or did you print them?
I printed them myself, and they're all fibre paper.
Because I really like the matte finish on them.
Yeah, I like it, but it's a bugger because the blacks often get a bit wishy-washy. So I'm playing around with glossy unglazed now. I don't know why. Maybe I go back to glossy. I'm not sure.
Bruce has a lovely darkroom with 2 Bestlers and a chandelier.
Yeah. The only darkroom in the world was chandelier. It was there when it was a room about as big as this, and it was the chandelier. And I thought I'd leave it there. So I'm the only darkroom in the world with a chandelier. Anybody like to ask a question? Make a point?
Yeah.
Sorry.
One of our album covers we've done about Jimi Hendrix and David Clark.
one, that was it. Only did the one.
Lots of David
Oh yeah, 27 of the day part 5, you know.
You do the
But
one
Dave
with
was
the,
very clever. He kept.
And I didn't show you any of
kept all
him
the,
because he kept,
copyright.
he bought the film as well.
I see.
And he kept everything.
Do you remember the Dave Clark part? Yeah.
Who's the...
Bits and pieces.
Very smart.
Bits and
Very
You've
smart.
got a photograph there with Noel Redding, Mitch Mitchell and Jimi Hendrix.
Yeah.
And the guy that's had his hair cut, who's that?
I think they're all having their hair cut at one point or another. One's Mitch Mitchell, the drummer.
Yeah.
He's short. He's got shorter, curly hair. The guy with the longer hair is Noel Redding and Jimmy. That's the experience. Bass, guitar, drums. That's all it was. But they made enough noise, like it was 6 or 7 people.
do you ever do the Rolling Stones? Did you ever?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I put my negatives into Rex Features, and they disappeared. And when I got the Rolling Stones envelope back, there were some nude ladies in there. So they weren't very good photographs either, sadly. So I don't know where they went. Somebody pinched them.
But that happened years ago when I sent them off to Trooper and got someone else's back.
Did you have a fight with Pete Townsend? Did you have a fight with Pete Townsend?
Oh, I had a fight with Pete Townsend from The Who. I was in the Scots at St James, and of course we were all puffing away, and he came in. He was a little bit arrogant, and he's quite tall. And something happened, and I said, "Oh really?" And he said, "Oh yeah, you want something back?" So we started fighting in the toilet. Somebody had peed on the floor, so we were sliding around, and he's got very long arms, and I couldn't get at him. He was punching me, and half the Rolling Stones and Pete, and drinkies and smokies and everything. That's funny. Silly things happen, when you've had too much to drink.
Yeah.
But Bruce, you took some amazing shots of Brian Jones. Yeah, the shots of you.
No, only one. Only got one backstage.
Yeah, but that's the one. Was that Isle of Wight or somewhere?
No, that was backstage at Monterey.
Backstage Monterey.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a beautiful
He was
shot.
wearing a crochet.
I mean, Brian Jones actually created the Rolling Stones. We know that.
Yeah.
My friend Terry wrote a
Yeah,
book
he wanted
about
to go. He wanted to go in a different direction. They wanted.
Yeah,
to go.
he did. He was the original. Brian Jones was, to me, the best. He created the Rolling Stones as Bruce Fleming creates photography. And it's just like, you had something in common with him, Bruce. Yeah? Original.
We try.
Did you represent many photographers?
Yes.
Right.
Andreas Heumann,
Oh, really?
Norman Parkinson.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, lots of great photographers, yeah.
Right.
And film directors.
Wow.
Anyway, it's Bruce's night. I don't want to talk about it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. But
It's Bruce's night. But
Yeah.
that went on for a long
Bruce,
time, didn't it?
Bruce to me
More.
was just, Bruce made the world worthwhile. He created, and he gave me friendship and love, and he inspired me, and to me he's like a brother. He's family. There's this beautiful Kim. He's the most kind, talented, wonderful.
Just leave it out.
Well, okay. I mean, he's going to fucking probably die next week, so I got to say it. So I'm getting off my chest. He's my best mate. I love him, and I am so respectful of him. And he is the biggest heart in the world. And his wife Kim is the best cook and the biggest heart.
Oh, greatest cook ever.
Love you,
Thank you, John. Thank you, John.
Yeah, but what made Bruce a great advertising photographer?
Well, it wasn't so much about that, but I was able to get more money than they deserved, probably. I'm a Scotsman, you know, and I'm a wee bit canny. I saw in Bruce what many people didn't see.
Which was?
And the ability to take photographs that were just fucking amazing. To be, just to do it, to make his communication with people, his interaction, just everything. He's just, look, he's the dog's bollocks. He's the dog's bollocks.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you, John.
Any other questions?
Anybody else got a question?
Yeah.
John?
And it makes me laugh as well. All right.
Anybody else got a question?
Did you ever, when you were at the Ronnie Scott's, did you ever do photographs of Miles Davis or John?
No, I missed
Coltrane
him,
or- yeah.
sadly. I'd love to have photographed him. But no, I missed him.
Dexter Gordon was one of
Dexter
them.
Gordon was, became a friend, you know. And lovely things happened. One night I'm in bed with my first wife and in Marylebone, and the phone rings. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, and I pick it up. Who the hell is this? I say, hello. He says, hi, Bruce. I said, yeah. He said, it's Stan. So I said, Stan? He said, yeah, Stan Getz. So I said, hi, Stan. Where are you? He says, I'm in Mayfair. I got a flat here. I'm playing at Ronnie's. He said, listen, have you got any grass? So I said, yes, I have. He said, put it in a taxi. I said, no, I'll come over. So I went over to him in Brook Street. So I got out of bed, put my clothes on, and went over there. And we got a taxi over there. We rolled up, and he's got a huge tape recorder. And he's just come back from Brazil. And he started to play his music. Oh. And he was with Astrid and João Gilberto. And he played these, and we sat there smoking and talking and listening to the music, and he explained what he was doing, and here I did this, and the night went by, and it was sort of about, I think it was about 8 o'clock in the morning. I said, well, I've got to go to bed, you know, and he said, see you down the club. That's it. And then one night when he was playing there, they were recording at the back, they had all the recordings set up, and he said, at the end of the session, he said, I'm going to play all night. Anybody like to stay? And Ronnie said, yeah, anybody wants to stay, stay. So we sat there and listened to the greatest jazz tenor player, one of the greatest ever. And sitting there listening to that, with a drink in your hand, unbelievable, unbelievable, wonderful. But photography can trip you up as well. There are some things not so pleasant that happens. For instance, I was working for a huge Japanese company in the city, and they sent me off to photograph Japanese. Will, are you here? You might know about this one. They sent me off to photograph a Japanese family. He was a trader on the stock market, and his wife and 2 children. They were absolutely beautiful, charming, beautifully dressed, wonderful. And they were living somewhere out North London where they built a new conurbation of very, very pretty Georgian look-alike houses. And he was kind of fitting in with the people, playing football, and the kids were. So I did the pictures, and it was great fun. I had dinner with them and all. They were lovely people, and I sent the pictures in to my agent and who'd hired me, and time went by, and the phone rang one day, and he said, Bruce. I said, yes. He said, you better sit down. So I thought, I'm not getting paid. What happened? So I said, something wrong? He said, no, the pictures are fine. He said, but you better sit down. So I sat down. And he said, it seems that the wife was the daughter of a very, very important samurai family. And for some reason, they didn't like the mixing with people in England. And so there's something going on there. So she went out in the car with the 2 children, poured petrol all over it, and burned herself and the children to death.
What?
And that was the most terrifying, awful thing. And I had to go to, they exorcised his desk, they put him under sedation, sent him back to Tokyo. And then the Shinto priest with sort of a hat and things exercised his desk and all that. And those are the sort of things that happen that you really blow your mind, you know, you think, bloody hell, what the hell happened there? And that was, that happens sometimes, you know, you find things or you see things that, you know, I've seen people born, I had seen 10 children born, I worked for Pfizer Hex and I had to sleep on the trolley while they were coming into labour, and then they said, you're on. So I had all my white bits on, and I had to rush in with a mask on and take pictures of the baby being born and the after thing, holding the baby up. And one day I was in there and they said, see, you don't know what's going to happen. So I got my white boots on and everything, and I got my camera ready, and it's a cesarean. And I won't go into it in detail, but once they made this cut, I started to feel very faint. And the room was going around, and I'm going, oh, F8, I know. And so what lens have I got on here? And I had to get it together because I thought I'd never do that again. But those are the sort of things that a curve is thrown to you, you know what I mean? Bang. And then another time, working for Woman's Own, I had to photograph Richard Harris. I think this is the one John was referring to, and Kim was referring to. So, you don't believe this. So, he lives in Kensington. And he's married to a very posh lady, he's got 2 children. And I arrive, and he's got a butler, and I open the door, and I go in, and they say, go into the drawing room. It's a beautiful house, and I sit down, and tea? I said, yes, I'll have a cup of coffee, please. And I got a cup of coffee. And nothing happens. And then I'm sitting, I'm reading the paper, and suddenly I saw a ghost. And I went out, and there's Richard in the door, and he's got a white dressing gown on, and he looks like hell. And he said, are you the photographer? I said, yes, yes sir, that's me. He said, right, enjoy yourself, I'll be back. I thought, well, that's the end of this shoot, you know, what the hell am I going to get out of this? So he went up the stairs slowly and disappeared. About 20 minutes went by and I heard bang, 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 boom, and then boom, 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 down the stairs. Ha ha ha! He said, ha ha! Are you ready now? I said, yeah, I'm ready. Different guy. He said, no, there's one condition. We're going to the London Irish Club. There's a match on today, and I'm going to it with Brendan Behan's brother, Dominic, and an assorted Irish gentleman. Okay? I said, fine. He said, we'll do your pictures you want to do first, and then we're off to the match. I said, okay, that's great. He said, there's only one condition. You have to drink what I drink. I said, I was a pretty good drinker. I said, okay, you've got a deal. So he said, fine. So we had a drink right away, a beer I think, and then we set off. And I did pictures of him on a park bench, covered in paper, which is how he started, and pictures of his house, and you know, pictures of his friends. Then we went to the pub, can't remember which one.
French house.
I don't, might have been French. And we met Brendan Behan's brother Dominic, and now they're drinking. Boy, we got into it. And he said, right, we're off. So we go outside, and it's a Mini. And there's 5 of us. And Brendan's brother is a huge guy. So I'm sitting like this in the back. Brendan's brother here, he's got a whiskey bottle here, another one there, and 2 in the front, and Richard's driving. You know. So we set off, and this is a tiny car, and it's kind of approaching a bit, but he's going very fast. And we went, the young London Irish is somewhere over Sunbury, over that way.
Twickenham.
Yeah, out over
There's
that
a
way.
bottle of whiskey running in the car as well.
Yeah, and then they're drinking like mad and passing it around, and I have to have a drink, you know, and all this. And ding-a-ling-ling, ding-a-ling-ling, the police, ding-a-ling-ling-ling.
In those days they had sirens.
They didn't have sirens, they ding-a-ling-ling. So I in the back, I thought we'd nicked. So this is great. All I'm doing is getting pinched for the day. You know, we're all going to end up in prison. And in those days, the minis had sliding doors, little sliding plastic doors. So there's this policeman standing looking grimly in the front, and this one's looking at him. And Richard Harris says, "Do you know who I am?" He said, "Right, if you don't bugger off, I'm going to get out of the car, tear your arm off and beat you to death with it. All right? Now bugger off." The policeman stood up, went back to his friend, had a little chat, got in the car and buggered off. He didn't want to know. So pass the bottle round and off we go. So we get there and we watch the match and we're singing, and then we end up in this dugout, which is a wooden hut, and it's November and it's freezing cold, and the pitch is outside, very muddy, and I noticed that one or two people are stepping outside and chundering, you see, and then coming back in. And I'm getting so pissed now, every time I pick the camera up, my finger's in the lens, I don't know where I am, and I'm trying to take pictures, and he says, "Come on, Bruce, tell us a story." So I had to tell a story. I would tell a story like this, and I'm doing it, I think, I've had enough, and they're all singing, and then, oh God, it's chaos. So I've got one camera here, and one under each arm, and an overcoat. So I thought, I think I'm going to be sick. So I step out, I walk across the pitch, I passed out, went boom, flat on my face. The lens on the camera was crushed into the body, and it said Canon, and when I dug it out the next day, the mud said Canon. I hit the ground so hard. So I'm lying there like this, covered in mud, and they've all gone home, and they've locked the place up. They don't know I'm there. I'm wearing a black overcoat. You can't see me. I'm just part of the ground. They've all buggered off. It's 3 o'clock in the morning now, and I wake up. I go all the mud, and I think, oh, and I feel terrible. And I stagger along, and I find this enormous gate with barbed wire, and I have to climb over it. So I climbed up, tore my trousers. Eventually, I got out, and there's a long path leading to the road. So I go up this long path, I'm standing there, it's freezing cold, and I'm in the middle of nowhere. And along comes a taxi, usually a London taxi. And I flag it down, he says, "Bloody hell, what happened to you?" I said, "I've been to the London Irish." He said, "Oh, well, that's a matter. Oh, I see, that's all right." Up in. I was poisoned for 3 days. I went to a girlfriend's house, because I couldn't remember where the bloody hell I lived, but I knew she lived in Camden, so I went to her house, and she said, "Oh, look at you." So, you know, I lay in bed, I was ill for 3 days, and the doctor came around and said, "You've got alcoholic poisoning. You could have killed yourself." Then when you accept an assignment, you never know what it's going to be like.
Did you get paid?
Oh yeah. But they kept the negatives, which I wish I'd kept. I've got a print of him under lying on the bench. I've got 1/10/8. But you never know, you never know. And then again, I was in, when was I? Africa, in Sierra Leone. And they're going to shoot some people. And they said, "Would you like to come watch them die?" And I said, "No thanks, no." And they're going to shoot people, and and another terrible thing was...
What were you doing in Sierra Leone?
Heineken nude ladies with no clothes on. Worldwide.
Wow.
I did 5 of those. I had 5 girls with no clothes on.
So execution photography wasn't really in the shot list?
How do you mean?
Well, you were out there to do girls and booze, not death.
No, just there. But you never know what's going to happen. That's the wonderful thing about going on assignment. You just never know. I was going to tell you. There it is. Oh yeah, my client was a Dutchman called Gerard van Witwassen.
Yes.
But we called him the Flying Dutchman, the Vliegende Hollander. And he was a drinker, but he was very stern with me. "Okay, Bruce, we do this. You take this picture." So he's so we're in Sierra Leone, and it's a pretty crazy place. There's leprosy there. There's a huge tree in Freetown called the Freedom Tree. And when the English decided that under Wilberforce they would stop slavery, they used to catch anybody, Portuguese ships, Spanish ships, take the slaves off and put them ashore in Freetown. And they would go and live in this tree. The tree is 3 times the size of this room, in roots, and they'd live among the roots, this enormous tree. And he was the drinker. And we'd work all day in the sun, we'd shoot all the pictures with beer, girls with beer or whatever. And then he would say, we'd go for a drink now in the town. So we went for a drink in the town, and we lost him. So me and my assistant, a Jamaican lad called Norman, who's one of my dearest mates now, he said, well, let's look around the bar. So we went to every bar we could find, and he wasn't there. And we're talking to a taxi driver, and he said, well, there is one bar right out in the countryside. So I said, well, take us there. So we drove out there, and bumping along this dusty road, and ahead of us, 2 black guys had a carpet, and they were throwing it in the road, and they threw it in the road, and it bounced. And then the carpet got up and went, I've been thrown out of better places than this with my client. My bloody client. So we get out of the car, and Norman says, Jesus, look at the state of it. It's filthy, it's covered in dust. And the guys have walked away, and there's a building over there, and I look at it, it's a petrol station. He's trying to get a drink in a petrol station. So I said, get in the car. He goes, no, I want a drink. They throw me out. I said, it's a petrol station. Get in the car. That was my client. That's what I was. You never know what you're going to get. You know. Unbelievable.
God.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Anybody got any other questions?
Crazy times.
Crazy.
You would be pleased to know that Bruce, had to give up drinking. All this talk
Yeah,
of
I'm
drinking.
afraid I drink water now. I can't drink anymore. I'm not allowed to
No.
because they killed it. You know, so,
Yeah, but I'm still.
yeah, I've got to be a good boy now. So. John's making up for it.
Do you have like a favourite shoot in? I know like you've got like a big sort of span of time for your career for shooting, but do you have like a top 5 favourite shoots of all time? Or top favourite one? I know it's like a tough question.
Not really. I couldn't really say. All of them were so different. That was the wonderful thing. And I miss the phone not ringing now, you know, because in the old days, either John would ring me and say, got a job, I'm coming round. Or the phone would ring and somebody would say, I don't know if this is your sort of thing. Could you go to Australia? And I'd say, yeah.
I think that's the exciting thing.
Yeah, that was the wonderful thing.
Professional.
Then another guy,
It's always different.
Unpredictable.
who was the tall guy? Max
Max Henry.
Max Henry
Max
was an art director, and
Creative director,
Yeah.
Robert Thompson.
we did a lot of work for him, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Well, I'm meeting John in a place called the Zanzibar, which was a famous drinking hole for lunatics in Covent Garden. And Max is there, and Max was very tall and leaned over you when you talked like that. So he leaned over and he said, how are you with big cats? I said, you've got to think on your feet now, you can't say, oh, I don't think I can do that. So I said, I'm all right, I think I do. I don't know what's coming, but you know, okay. He said, I said, what is it? He said, it's a Black Panther. I want you to photograph it. Right? I said, fine. He said, I want you to set it all up. Did you set it up? You did, didn't you?
Set up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So John set it up. We had a special circus tent, as big as this room, and they had to have a cover, a net on it, because this damn thing could run up there, jump over and kill you. You know, and it was about the size of a very, very large dog. And his name was Mowgli. And he had his friend, which was a leopard, with him. And they brought the cage up, put it there, and then they gave us, they opened up openings. I had my 2 assistants here, in case I didn't get it, and we had kneeling mats. So we were kneeling in the square, and the cat was there. Could have come out and killed you. So they've all given all cameras, and I've got a Hasselblad, and they introduce the cats. They come in like this, and they sneak around, and we've got heavy lights up there, and they got a bit dozy, so they had to get pieces of meat on long sticks to get them walking. And I had my bank manager there from Barclays. Because I owed him an awful lot of money. And he was walking along, and the cat was walking along. He walked along, and the cat went, "Ugh." And the boss, Jim Clubb, said he doesn't like him. So eventually we got some great shots. Then Mowgli walked over to me, and about there, sat down, like that. Closer, I think, about there. And he just sat down and lay there. And then he looked around, and then he looked at me. And they've got blue eyes and enormous teeth and a black mouth. So they're all black, tiny ears and these blue eyes. And he's looking at me like that. And he just went, and his breath, I can't tell you. Oh, I don't know what he did. But so, probably another photographer. So Jim Clubb says, he likes you. Thank God for that. So we got the shots, and that was for South African cigarettes. I can't remember the name of it. And it was supposed to be Black Panther in the snow, so we had white, painted everything white. And John got it all arranged, and then they put him back in the cage, and that was my job. You never know what you're going to get. Kneeling literally, and they could come at you like that. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. But it's fun. It was fun.
Something's got to get you out of bed in the morning.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And you like
in the
aerial
desert one
photography?
day.
Yeah, I did a lot of aerial photography. I had 54 hours on helicopters.
Wow.
I wasn't allowed to fly them. I wanted to badly, but I was allowed to fly twin engine aircraft and take them off. Landing, hands on. The pilot also had his hands like that in case I made a mistake. But I love that. I love flying. We'd fly around and do shots. That was wonderful.
There's a question.
We did one particular job,
Oh, Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Yeah.
When Bruce did the most, we got there, the weather was correct. I'll let you, Bruce, tell the story because it was just the funniest.
Yeah, it was Gestad. Now this is one of the most expensive
Palace.
places we've ever been to. And we stay in the Palace Hotel. And it's full of extremely rich people who wear not mink, but sable coats. And they're lined up in the when they go into the restaurant, you know. And there's these three oiks, four, sorry, the art director, the copywriter, John and me. And John's kind of assisting me as well. And we have to get helicopter shots because what they want is they want cross skis in the snow, and two skiers for the Halifax Building Society. Now, the thing was, the helicopters used to fly these people to somewhere called off-piste, where nobody had skied. It's very dangerous, but they loved all that. So we had to go to almost 11,000 feet to get, which is harder breathing up there. We had to get up high because they'd put their skis everywhere. We went in virgin snow. So we had to land our chaps first, then he came back for us, and then we flew around with walkie-talkies, and they had to ski and make the
Again, this is pre-digital, guys.
Pre-digital.
This is done
And
for
I've got to shoot the following. I've got to shoot a DPS, which is double plate spread. I've got to shoot quarter plate. I've got to shoot long, thin ones, tall ones, the lot. I've got to figure this out. So I stuck all the briefs in the helicopter, took the door off, strapped myself in, and put my feet on the skids. And I had my hair cut short because, and everything, and the flying suit tied up because if there's anything flapping about, it can do you a lot of damage, you know. And I didn't wear glasses then. So we took off, and we went up, and the stairs are already there, and I think you were there, John?
I was on the bottom organising it.
Yeah, he was
With
organising
Nat
it.
and Pete and Fast Eddie.
Yeah, the two.
Man, it was a mad
The art
job.
director was called Fast Eddie because he'd see a girl, he'd say, hello. Bang! You know, suddenly he's in bed with her. You look at Fast Eddie, and Napalm Pete was always pissed, and he tried to light cigarettes, and he'd set fire to them.
No, Bruce, he set fire
Oh,
to
the
the
guy's
Hurricane
beard.
Swiss guy's beard.
Beard, yeah.
With
Blue
this
flames.
restaurant. And this
Put him out, you know.
chap was, and we found that he lived in Gestad, in the Park Hotel.
yeah.
We had Roger Moore mixed all these, and this guy was pompous, arrogant, and napalm Pete just went and set his beard on fire. Well, we had a good night after that. It was a laugh.
It was an absolute laugh. A lot of things happened I'm not going to tell you much about. No, please.
No comment.
But we had a lot of fun. And we got some great shots. But it was a difficult assignment. So, meantime, I knew not to drink the night before because I'd been flying a lot and you don't drink and fly. But the lads had had a few the night before because it was lovely wine and great food. And they decided to wander off because they weren't needed now. We were getting the shots flying round and round, and then we'd level up and he'd go into some, I can't remember what it was, something with a helicopter where you could hold it steady and it doesn't vibrate because they can vibrate a lot. But you got it steady and I'd shoot pictures and my assistant's behind me. No assistant. So I'm picking up, I'm loading the mags myself and throwing the dead ones over there. And I'm loading it up and I'm shooting the pictures and I have to remember I've got to do a DPS, so I need a wide shot. So I said, back off, so back off. So he'd fly backwards until I got a wide shot with a wide angle lens and shoot those. Then we'd come in closer for another shot. And we did it. We did the whole thing in about an hour, I think, approximately.
Over 3 days.
Over 3 days. Yeah.
Landscape 64, 48 in portrait.
Yeah, so 48 sheet is...
Because I was on the ground.
48 sheet is huge, aren't they?
Aye.
As big as that wall, 48 sheet.
I nearly dropped down from a
Oh
place.
yeah, I'll tell them.
Yeah, you got
So they wandered off, him and the art director wandered off, and they decided to sit on the edge of an ice shelf, right? And they'd gone like that, and their feet had gone into the snow, and the shelf was there. So we took off, we flew round, and I noticed something, that their feet were through the ice, and they were sitting, and there was about 2,000 feet down, 4,000 feet, and they were sitting, and the ice could have cracked off and taken them down, because they'd broken through the ice with their feet. So we had to say, John, get out of there. So they had to.
The Jamesons, don't worry about it. That was grand.
So yeah, great shoots,
Yeah.
Difficult, but a lot of fun. Challenging, but great fun, and well paid, which is nice.
You had a question earlier?
Yes. Is there any brands or countries that you refused to work?
South Africa. I had a job in the Drakensberg, great job. Now I have a black assistant, Jamaican, my dear friend, and we had a chat to the art director and said, well, of course he's going to have to sleep in another hotel. I said, what? I said, well, there's apartheid and all that, the Dutch thing. And so I said, really? I said, no, don't want the job. And my assistant said, no, get another assistant. I said, no, you're my assistant. If they don't like that, I'll go. So I didn't do the job. That's one I refused. And anything to do with, I did military stuff, and then I thought, what am I doing? I worked, as I was in the Air Force, I got COI and recruitment for the Air Force, Army,
COI?
Navy. Central Office of Information. And being in the services, I did that. And that was very interesting, doing recruitment and flying all over the place to Germany. Here's a story, which this is amazing. It's the only place in Germany where a picture of Hitler is allowed to be up on a wall. And it's in a place called Gütersloh, and it's an ex-Luftwaffe fighter station. And we did a lot of pictures and drank a lot of beer and shot loads of fighter planes taking off and landing, whatever. And then one evening, the squadron leader, who was our liaison officer, said, come and see this. So we went upstairs, and we went up to this big square tower, real German architecture. And we got to the top of this tower, it's got windows all around it, it's very square, and in the middle is a massive table, and massive beams here. And he's sitting at one end, I'm sitting the other, and the art director and people are sitting down this side. And I said, what is he saying? Well, what it was Hermann Göring used to come and beef the fighter pilots up, tell them, you've got to do this, I want you to win, get in there and shoot those Spitfires down. But he used to say, if I'm telling you now, and he used to tell fantastic stories, because he was a World War I ace, and he'd tell these stories, and they'd say, no. He'd say, if I tell a lie, may this beam fall on my head. And just then, the beam went woof, straight down, and we went, Christ, dust everywhere. And what had happened was the pilots had soared through the beam and got their engineers to rig up this whole trap with a trap door thing. And then one day when he was in there in his uniform and all that, he said, if I'm telling you the truth, I made this beam fall, and they went boom. That was British luck. Amazing. Amazing. Absolutely amazing. Then we all went down to the bar and had a few drinks.
Every story you're telling, Bruce, is about drinking.
That was the life.
I know, a lot of it's about drinking.
There were some shoots that...
Well, so there's some shoots, for instance, Olympus. I got a job with Olympus, and it was Jeffrey Bernard. I don't know if you know him.
Sat next to him on a plane once.
The picture was Jeffrey Bernard is unwell. He's talking like that, and he's got red eyes. But this particular camera, when you fired the flash, it didn't give you a red eye, and then it was Jeffrey Bernard is fine. Won an award with this. So they said. When I got the job, they said, look, he drinks in a pub in Soho, and I want you to, here's a camera, and 2,000 quid, and you deal with him. He doesn't like us. So I said, okay, right. So I found where the pub was, read some of his articles, they're bloody good actually, and I thought, right, I'll go and see him. So I went to see him, and we set up in the pub. I had my assistant setting up the lights and the camera and all that sort of thing, and off I went to meet him. And said, Jeffrey? He said, hello dear boy, you're the photographer chap. I said, yes. Sit down, Jim. What'll it be? I thought, well, I'm going to... Yeah. So I said, I'll have what you're having. So the barman went like this, went up to the optic and went, 1, 2, 3, 4. Vodka. And put it in front of me. I said, could I have a splash of vodka? You know, splash of something in it. You know? So I had 5 of those, talking to him, we were talking, he was telling me all stories, and he's quite, sober, smoking away, and I'm getting so pissed now, I can't hardly stand up. So I'm trying to hold a conversation with him, and I said, well, look at the time, we've got to go now. They've been waiting for us for hours, so we wandered off to this pub. I had to get my assistant to take the pictures. I couldn't manage it, I just couldn't. So I'd say, I'll tell you when. So I'd say, now. So then he'd press the button, because I couldn't focus. So he had to focus everything, and then I'd say, Jeffrey, give us some money. He said, show me some money. So I'd say, money. I said, now, And then, so we did the pictures, and then went down to a pub, went down to a restaurant, and had bottles of wine, and I came back on the train, and I think you met me, didn't you? I was absolutely out of my head. My sister had to take the camera.
It's made 85, isn't it?
Yeah.
Done well.
Yeah. That was Jeffrey Bernard.
Wow.
Yeah.
The last time I saw him, he was in the Grouchos with one leg. He said, "Oh dear boy," and I said, "What happened?" He said, "Oh, they took my bloody leg off. Too much drinking and smoking." He said, "I'm taking the other one off next week." So I said, "Oh, how awful," and they did.
Blimey.
He's still drinking like a fish.
He's
I used to
dead.
drink with him.
He's gone.
He was. He could
Oh,
drink
yeah.
and drink and drink.
Yeah.
Wow. Well,
Father Ted didn't have a look at.
I photographed the toilets in Butlins once for Formica, so...
Oh, you didn't drink from the pan, you're all right.
Yeah, entirely sober.
Anybody else got any questions, points, anything?
I have a quick question. What was your favourite genre to shoot? Because obviously you've shot lots of rock stars and musicians, and you've done like the advertising thing, which is quite kind of varied. But is there a particular thing that you liked most?
No, I just love it all. Yeah, I still love it.
Yeah.
I'm now playing around with great big mahogany and brass cameras, because there's something I could never do. Any photographers here might know this. I had to shoot a job for an Italian company, and I had to get lookalikes of Bogart, Melina Dietrich, Clark Gable, and Humphrey Bogart, and
One of them.
Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
So I found all these people. I was paid an awful lot of money for this, and they said, "Can you do 30s Hollywood lighting?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." Well, I had no bloody idea. So I used to watch these films like Rebecca.
Yeah, but you love film noir.
Yeah, I love film noir anyway, and I thought, I can do this. So I played around a lot, and they flew over from Italy, and I got the lookalikes in, and we shot them. And I wanted to get the feel, and I don't know if you've ever seen these lovely old pictures where somebody's leaning forward, they're in focus here, and their ear's out of focus, and everything else has gone to hell. It's a wonderful thing. So I'm shooting with a Hasselblad. Well, the lens is so good, even though I'm shooting wide open, that's no depth of field, they're too good. I couldn't get that feeling. So I vowed one day I'm going to get some old cameras and old lenses and try and do it. And I made a start, a bit of a pathetic start, because I went to load the film, which is 5x4, and I loaded it upside down. So that was a bloody good start. So I made a start, and I'm hoping to shoot at Alex's studio next Friday with Will, young Will, who is Samurai.
Not quite yet.
Not quite, be close.
Will there be any drinking or?
No. Well, anybody else can drink, but I can't. Yeah, I don't mind what other people do. You know. I'd love a glass of wine.
Yeah, because Will is a martial artist, so everybody's got that.
And I was until I got cancer, prostate cancer. But I'm over that now. But
what was the name of your martial art? It's swords, isn't it?
Iaido. It's 450 years old, and it was. It's not a meditation, but it's you train to be aware of anybody who will attack you at any time, or anything happens in life, you have to deal with it and be aware of it now. It's not a question of anything else. Am I right? I'm on the right track.
And has that been useful in St Leonard's?
Not really. The other point is about 163 ways of killing someone. You know? So,
with a sharp knife.
With a very sharp sword. Yeah, but we practice with blunt swords. Start with wooden ones and then blunt swords. And if you get to be a Dan or a black belt, then you might get a sharp sword that you can work with. So Will discovered
you're going to have a go with that.
I want to get back to it, but I'm having terrible trouble with my knees and my back, and because of age, and everything below the waist has gone to hell. You know, it's a bit of a nuisance. But I hope to go back to it. You know. And by the way, prostate. Any gents here, please get a PSA for your prostate, please. It's only a blood test, but it's very, very important.
It's a good idea.
I tell every man I meet now, because a friend came over from Canada, a photographer, and said, "Have you had a PSA?" I said, "No, not for ages." He said, "Get it done." I got mine, and it saved my life. And the same thing happened to me. Had a PSA test, and it was finger up the bum, not very pleasant.
Yeah, but it's not that, you're immortal anyway.
It looks like it. And he said, "I don't
all
like
those
this."
nights of drinking.
You went into urology, and they rang me up, Kim and I went down, he said, "Sorry, Bruce, you've got cancer." So I said, "Okay." I was expecting it anyway. So 1 in 2 people now, going to be me. So he said, "The thing is, you've come early, you're in the middle, 5 Gleason or something." He said, "We can cure you." So I said, "Right." So they cured me. But they gave me injections with massive needles in the stomach with a thing called Zoladex, which takes away your testosterone temporarily, you think, and gives you female hormones. So I grew little tits and had a little pot belly, and it was very nice to people. You know, suddenly I was wearing her makeup and her... No, not true. But you know what I mean? Everything changed. I had no strength. I was a lot calmer, funny enough. It's weird. And the idea was that my testosterone would eventually come back. It's coming back, but it's so slow. I have no muscles anymore. I was pretty well muscular, but I don't have the muscles anymore, and I don't have the strength to pick a sword up and swing it. You know, it's quite a intense thing you have to do. You have to be concentrating very hard. I can't do that at the moment, but I'm looking forward to having a go. I won't be able to do any kneeling work, starting from kneeling, with what they call standing katas. But I'm hoping, maybe with Will, that we can have a go together, you know, and if we can find a dojo, but there are no dojos until Canterbury, I think. A dojo is a huge room which is devoted to martial arts. So, anybody else?
So Bruce, what's your favourite format camera?
Hasselblad,
Yeah.
2¼ I had
Loved
6
it.
of them.
You had
I've
6
still
of
got
them.
the one I shot Jimmy with. That's being sold as part of the archive, and I'm regretting that. But the Hasselblad is the greatest camera I think ever made. It's the most wonderful. It's like the Carno, you just put bits of it together. It's robust. I was at Cape Kennedy shooting Apollo 17 for the Sunday Times, up a ladder, and I dropped one on a concrete floor, and it cracked open like an egg, because it's a cast body. And I got down, I didn't have another camera, it was in the truck. So I bound it together, wound it up with sellotape, and it worked. Fantastic piece of Swedish.
1967.
Yeah.
I think it was.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Man, that was a busy year.
No, it was no, my wife was pregnant then. So
67, Bruce?
72 was it?
72.
Yeah. Apollo 17. It was the last moonshot. Yeah. 72. Yeah. That was exciting as well. That was.
Have you seen the picture? Oh, it's amazing.
I can't show you everything. I've got the Apollo leading them down. Nobody knew the exposures there for photographers at present, because nobody had ever shot a rocket going to, leaving the Earth at night.
And there's no time to bracket.
No.
So I had 500 mil
Yeah.
on moving a tripod like that, and then my buddy, an artist, a painter called Dean Bradley, a Canadian artist, who I got accreditation for to do the drawings and paintings, done lovely stuff. And he had another camera with a slightly smaller lens, and he just took pictures and wound them on, press the button, wind it and press the button. And that was my test roll.
Ah.
And then I shot the rocket going
So a
up.
roll-on clip test.
Yeah, and it is the most amazing thing. It's 365 feet tall. The flame is 1,400 feet long, and it's a series of explosions, and it's 2 miles away, and it hits you in the chest like this, and the ground shakes, and I thought, crashing a camera shake, and the noise, and it's a fantastic sight, and I'm still getting goosebumps remembering it as it leaves the Earth. There were 3 men on top, and the man in front of me was a NASA guy, and he's going, go, 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 and he turned to me and he's crying, because it's so amazing to see 3 men launching to the moon, you know.
How far away were
2
you?
miles.
Were you to that?
Because if it falls over, the explosion's enormous. And the beach, there's a beach by the launch area, and they made sure everybody was gone, except the hippies got rubber boats, came across, lay there under the rocket, right, smoking dope. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? I love that. And they found them and arrested them, of course, you know. Hey man, this is cool, man. Yeah, loads of hippies riding up with rubber boats right under the rocket. Not so they'd get burned, but you know, just America's crazy.
Oh.
I love America, but it's a lunatic asylum. Really.
Well, I think that's a wonderful image to leave us with. Thank you so much. All right, brilliant.
Well, thank you all.
Thank you.
Never done it before. No.